Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Hashtag Clocked In with me, your host, Jordan Edwards. I'm thrilled to have you tune in as we dive into the dynamic world of productivity, success, and stories of incredible individuals who've mastered the art of getting things done. Whether you're commuting, hitting the gym, or just relaxing at home, this podcast is the go-to source for inspiration and actionable tips to level up your productivity game. I'm on a mission to unravel the secrets of those who seem to effortlessly manage their time and achieve their goals. So if you're ready to clock in and unlock your full potential, you're in the right place. We've got a lineup of amazing guests, industry experts, and thought leaders who will share their insights and strategies to help us crush your to-do list and make the most out of every moment. Get ready to get inspired, motivated, and equipped with the tools you need to supercharge your productivity. This is Hashtag Clocked In with Jordan Edwards. Let's dive in. Hey, what's going on, guys? I got a special guest here today. We got Benjamin Nasberg. He's reinventing the way we think about restaurants and experiences, especially with his newest business, which is North America's first human-grade pet food delivery restaurant, which is incredible. And we'll dive into that and much, much more. But Benjamin, how are we doing today?
Doing great, my friend. You?
Oh, amazing. I'm so excited to have you on because you have such a unique perspective on the world. But where does your journey start? Where did this all begin?
My journey started with two parents that were terrible cooks growing up. So we would go to restaurants all the time. When I was a kid, I feel like we were like at a restaurant 3, 4, 5 times a week. And right now, I'm working out of a Starbucks. Just so if you hear blending in the background, that's because of that. But I just feel naturally like when I'm in a restaurant environment, I just feel like I'm at home. So growing up, family dinners, always a ritual to go to eat or pick up. So that's really kind of where I think my passion for being around restaurants started. I'm Canadian born. I'm born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, central Canada. Gets to plus 40 Celsius to minus 40 Celsius. So we try to get out of here in the winter, but really good food scene and a lot of good growth out here. And that's kind of where I got my roots started. I started my first restaurant with 3 partners, 3 friends that were actually looking at bringing an American pizza type concept here that was using coal-fired pizza, and no one was doing that in Canada. And we thought that would be a really cool thing for us to do. And I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I had an idea. I wanted to go into medical school, wrote the MCAT, all that good stuff.
So you got you got all the way to the MCAT, which is an incredibly difficult test. And you're studying for hours on hours and months, and you go, peace, I'm going to the restaurant game.
I mean, yes and no. So during this whole time, I'm working in restaurants. I was either serving, bartending, managing at one point, and then I wrote the MCAT, have my science degree. And when I was studying for the MCAT, I always knew I wanted to help people. I didn't want to be, my uncle was a dentist. He invested in restaurants, was super into that. My dad was a lawyer. So I was definitely don't want to be a lawyer. Mom was a teacher. And then I was I like to help people. My kind of go-to is doctor, dentist, lawyer. That was just kind of my psychology growing up. So went with the idea to be a doctor, and then I could invest in hospitality. And then when I didn't get into my first attempt for medical school, which was in Winnipeg here, didn't apply to anywhere else, knew I could have, but just decided to stick with it here. I was living at home at the time. So traveling to Australia or England or anywhere like that was not in the cards for me. And so, got pretty far along. And then when I got back from traveling for 3 or 4 months, my buddies were like, hey, we're opening a restaurant. You should have a
when did you decide to go traveling?
After I got my degree and I wrote the MCAT and I didn't get in, I was like, I am going to leave for a few months just because it was summer. So I went to Spain, France, Italy, Greece, and Israel. And then came back and was going to rewrite, or my plan was to rewrite it, but then I got this information from my buddies saying that they're opening a restaurant, and I thought they were crazy. And I was like, how the hell are you doing this? And then started learning more about it. And it was always I always wanted to be around that environment, and I always wanted to invest into the restaurant space. So to me, it was I talked to my parents. I was like, I'm going to do this. And I was scared shitless when I told them that. And they were like, good luck. Like we'll fully support. And they're, very supportive parents. They're the most annoying customers probably to the staff because they show up like every day at the restaurants that we had at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't like that planned, I would say. It was more just, I had this like, I had the vision of eventually getting into the restaurant space more from an investment perspective. But I was just naturally like, I was just a natural when I was inside the restaurant. So when my friends told me about it, they knew I was a good fit. It became a managing partner, and then fast forward to today. I mean, I don't want to get too far ahead, but there's a lot has changed. And
that's the most incredible thing, because most people are like, I got to stick to the plan. I got to stick to the plan. And you were very far down the plan. Like being at the MCAT is like almost it. Like that's the plan. Like, and for you to step away, because a lot of people talk about it, and it's this concept of like, I've been in this job too long, I can't leave. I've been doing this too long, I can't leave. Like, I recall for myself, I studied the CPA, which is for accounting, and I failed it twice, 2 different sections, and I was like, I'm done. Hopping into try to make a business. Let's try to do something. Like, you got to figure out something that might be a better fit, because in the meantime, you asked that, like, what were the questions you were asking yourself when you thought about that process of, I'm not going to do this anymore, I'm going to put this down and I'm going to go on to the next? Because some of the ones I asked were, where's happiness come from? Will I be happier doing this or that?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you're asking yourself that question at that stage in your life is showing that you're ahead in the development game. I had not really focused on personal development or reading about anyone's real story or biography of any successful people at the time. I was just studying what I was told to study and following the books in school and university. And I wasn't like, to me, I was like, whatever I had to do for school, I'll do. But I wasn't, if I was doing anything outside of school, I was like skateboarding or playing hockey or, just messing around. So I wasn't into like reading too much outside of school. I wasn't into personal development at the time. So I didn't really ask myself, like at that time, I wasn't proactively asking myself, like, what do I want in life and how do I want to get there? And what is my mission? What is my why? And how does this all come together? I just knew that I wanted to help people. I was a natural in science and math. And when I say natural, I don't think those are natural things. I just became good at them early on in life and then could stick to it and tutored math and all that kind of stuff. So math and science was easy. So I was like, what's the easiest way for me to get a degree? And then what does that also look like for a career perspective? Because I always had the vision of, or let's not necessarily vision, but just that, you go to school, the archetype is you go to school, you go to university, you get your job, and then you stick to that. I didn't think I was going to start businesses like long-term. When I was starting businesses, when I was in school, I was doing it more so as like for fun. I didn't think that it could be a long-term thing for whatever reason. I just thought I needed to have a secure job that was being paid by way of like, as a doctor or dentist, lawyer. That was my thoughts. Business was like a side thing. If I can make it work, great, but it was never a guarantee. And so when I reflect back, I guess where I'm going with your question is I reflect back and say, now that I've gone through personal development, I understand, how to position your mind to be successful with having like a clear vision of what you want, and then looking at why you want it, and then figuring out how you're going to get there versus saying, how do I do this thing? That usually scares people. You need to know what do you want, why, and then how. So I would say, in the back of my mind, in my gut, in my nervous system, something was drawing me away from trying, like giving it an all in for medical school. I didn't study too hard for the MCAT. I didn't take the MCAT courses. Something was telling me to like do it just to do it, like get your degree just so you can say you have a degree, just to show that you're not going to quit on that. But then with the MCAT, I wasn't all in on it. And I was thinking like back, and I'm like, if I was in school for another 8 years and, working overnight shifts at the hospital and doing all these things, I'm like, that doesn't sound like the life I want to live. I want to be more free. I want to have freedom. And so I think part of it was saying, what's happiness to me? Like, I don't know if I asked the question, but it was my freedom. I didn't want 9 to 5 hours. I didn't want to be fixed to a specific schedule. And so I wanted to be away from that. So it was almost just like, I knew what I didn't want.
Yeah.
And I thought that, and I loved being around restaurants. I loved being around people. I didn't necessarily care what type of food it was. I just loved the environment. So then that was my like natural gravitation. And because I had that feeling inside me, you know, you attract what you are feeling and thinking. And I was always thinking restaurants and how this opportunity of somebody's, you know, I'm sitting in a restaurant hearing that one of the brother-in-laws is in town and they're planning to open up a restaurant. And one of my buddies growing up and another buddy through him are opening this place. I was like, I didn't know you guys were doing this. And they told me about it and I was obsessed after that. So couldn't stop thinking about it. Didn't care what it was going to take to get involved. Just knew I needed to do it. And it was the best decision. I don't know if it was a decision or just life happening for me, just coming at me, but it was the best timing and best thing.
I love, like you're saying, it's so incredible because if they approached you while you're studying for your MCAT, you would have been like, I don't know, like I'm busy.
Yeah.
But you're post travel, post experience, you're coming back. You're like, what am I going to do? Do I study this again? And they have this. You're open up for the opportunity. So you dive into the opportunity, and they were probably like, finally, we got someone who believes.
Yeah, it was wild. I saw the rest. Like, yeah, I was in a very good. It was good timing. Like they were just getting it started. They were building it. They already had their money together. So for me, it was like I could see it all unfold. I went to the restaurant before I fully got invested into it, and then I was like, they were like, "Hey, we're planning to open more. We're gonna do this. Let's do this." And I jumped in and took over the operation, the first store, with the intent for my other partners to open the second and third and fourth one. And yeah, we killed it. I was so happy there. I was like, you know, my parents were coming, like telling all their friends and all their family were coming and hosting birthdays there and shit. So it was cool, man. It was no regrets. I used to, one of my first businesses was throwing events and bringing in like bands and DJs and artists and stuff. So I was doing that with the restaurants, and I was just using the venue, the restaurant, as my way of bringing in events. And then being the one that owned the restaurants was even just more. I just had more gratitude for it all because it was always like I always wanted to own one, you know. And then we got to 4, and then I don't want to, again. I'll let you ask the question.
No, well, I mean, this is why it's so exciting because I see it lights you up. And the cool thing is that it was never the intent. It was always, hey, this is what happened. So are you guys still partners? I'm going to go forward a little bit, but are you guys still partners to this day? Like all of you guys?
So me and one are still, my main partner, Sean, is still involved. And then my other 2 partners, still buddies, but they both parted ways into the construction industry throughout the course of our relationship. So
I was going to say, I'm like, because I know how long this was, how it's been like many years.
2000, the idea came together in 2010/11, and then first restaurant opened in 2012. So yeah, it's been just over 10 years.
And yeah, I mean, everyone changes opinions, they change lives, they change ideas. So I was just curious how that went, but it's so exciting that you found something.
What's funny on that too is my mindset then was like, I'm going to own this and I'm never going to sell anything. And I'm going to be in control of it. And as I was, you know, getting more ownership, I was like, I don't need more partners. And then I was like, realized how closed-minded I was. And then went complete opposite once I learned how wrong of a mindset that was, to be more like open to sharing in the success and growing with other people. And that mindset, when I shifted, that was like, okay, we have something here. We want to grow this thing. I don't need the control. Let's franchise it. And then that's kind of what spearheaded our, that was in 2016-17. So yeah, I can give you a quick roadmap. So when we opened in 2012, our first location, full service, 100 seats, like
wow.
I would say
the real deal.
Yeah, it wasn't fine dining pizza. It was family style pizza, open concept, but like the best price pizza for that. Like I would say we would.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
We would compete with like the premium guys, but we wouldn't charge like $50 for a pizza. You know, we wouldn't go fine dining prices. Exactly. So opened in 2012, family style. Then we opened in 2014, our second store in downtown in Manitoba here, and turned that into a supper club because it was around our hockey arena and had events and parties, and kind of took my old experiences and made that a thing. And then 2016, we opened two more. And then in 2016 was the most, looking back, is my craziest year. So we opened two Carbone stores. I opened a nightclub, and I opened a sports bar with other partners. All at the same, all that year. And only way I could do that was with awesome partners. Obviously, I couldn't do it myself, but all of this was kind of like compounding and coming together, and ideas were coming together, and everyone was believing in us, and anything we opened was just going. So in that time, when I realized that new partners and, having less of the pie is, somewhat of a benefit because you can be freed up to do other stuff. That's when I looked at franchising our brand. And to me, it was better to do it in a quick service setting, so we can cut out all the 100 seats and not have to have, spending
waiters and all that stuff.
You could spend 300 grand and, just create the system, create the menu, have the brand, and then franchise it. I saw a lot of cool companies doing that, so I figured let's give it a go. And in 2017, our first franchise was sold before it was open. Actually, technically, if I don't know how this can get to lawyers or not, but it was a license at the time. We were licensing it, and then franchise after that. So our first, sorry if it's a little noisy behind me, but yeah, our first.
No, you're good.
Our first franchise / license store was in 2018, and thank God we did that, because when 2020 hit, we had a bunch of quick service franchises, and we had our full service pizzerias that were more so serving families, and shit hit the fan, obviously, and had to close our doors and find ways to pivot. And I'll pause there for a minute, but yeah, it was we were ahead of the curve for sure on thinking more, let's go delivery / pickup / premium in a more condensed environment and franchise it, versus saying we need a few hundred seats to fill for a pizza restaurant.
Yeah, it's a very interesting concept, because when you think about restaurants, most people are like, oh, I really like that restaurant. They don't think about the ambiance or the people or the money. Like, I mean, I'm just talking about the regular customer. They just go through the experience and they go, I really like these guys. I really like what they're doing. Like, you don't even think about all the factors, and it's so crazy to take that all into consideration. So at what age? So in 2016, what age were you, and how did you feel going into that compounding of 4 different openings at the same time? Because I feel like that could be kind of scary.
Yeah, it was definitely pretty wild. So I would have been 29 at that time. And so, it was, I think it was probably more stressful for the teams doing it, because I had partners in the nightclub, I had partners in my sports bar, and then I was focused more so on the Carbone stores, but I had the partners to take care of there too. So I was like more focused on kind of creating the teams, and then trusting the teams to execute, and then reporting back, on the wins and losses so we can improve. So it wasn't like the first time we opened a restaurant. The first time it was, I wasn't too involved. The second one, I was extremely involved, and we made a bunch of mistakes. The third time, it was like very like, this is what we like, this is what we didn't like on the first one, this is what we really liked on the second one. So the third one was great. Fourth one was easy. So after that, it was just like bing, bang, boom.
It's getting enough reps.
Yeah, and got in the reps and knew that it would all work out in the end, and it was all just about having the right people that you can trust, and leveraging your time as best to your ability, and sticking to the things that you're good at. So like, I'm good at creating brands and creating the overall. I could take the vision and run with it. I just need the team around to support my crazy ass mind. So
how do you think about partners? Because obviously you started expanding partners. Like, what do you look for when you're looking for partners? Just to give everyone a perspective, if they might be starting their journey and they're looking for somebody, or who do you even partner with? Because it's a tough thing.
So first things first is knowing what you're good at and what you're not good at. So I would say usually like 3 people in partnerships is the best, because one person's going to be really good at marketing / sales, the other is going to be good at operations, and the other could be good at, let's say, the administration side, whether it's bringing in and / money, or understand the legal side of things and all that logistics. So knowing what you're good at, and then finding the people that complement you, whether it's through partnerships or hiring. I always like the partnership method because it didn't really I mean, in hindsight, it kind of costs you something because you're providing a piece of the pie, but you're not writing checks out of the gate while you're putting things together. So once you know what you're good at and what you need to support you, then you look for those types of people. And once you start looking, they come your way. I would say, like, you have to like the person to be honest. I think some people say you don't have to love the partners, but I think if you can decide who you want to be around with, you're going to spend more time with them than your spouse or your family. This is your new family, so you might as well like who you're going to make money with, and understand that a little bit about their past history on what they've failed at, more so, because everyone talks about their wins, but once you start hearing about the losses or the hardships and how they came out of that, that kind of shows you what kind of person they are. So
absolutely,
if they could fight through that and you're kind of aligned with it, and you go out and have some drinks or go for dinner and kind of just get to know that person and see how they truly are, and you're like, all right, yeah, we're on the same vibe, same wavelength, like we have the same goal, would be the third thing. So obviously, like, where do we want this to be at the end of the day? One of the mistakes I made early on was one of our partners didn't like the crazy growth plan that we had. So it's very difficult to remove someone versus know that out of the gate. Like, if someone wants, let's just use my example, if you want one restaurant and we want 100, that's going to be a lot of friction inside the partnership, and you're going to have to find ways to get around that. So knowing what everyone wants and making sure that you just have the exact same vision, long-term and short-term, the rest is easy. Trust is obviously key, but like, you're going to go for it. Values are important. But I think that just comes down to trust and that kind of character and, the type of person that they are. So if you can vibe with them, you should be fine. I don't overthink that. And yeah, at the end of the day, I wouldn't rush anything. I wouldn't rush a decision with a new partner, especially if you just met them. But I also wouldn't slow it down too much, because at the end of the day, if you have a good gut feeling about someone and you're all on the same mission and everything kind of checks those boxes, then you can make that bold decision to run with it. But you don't want to do it without knowing that those pieces that I mentioned are in place. And I think that's the key.
Yeah, I think that was an awesome explanation, because when you really think about it, some people go like, you want to walk, jog, run with somebody. But I mean, at the same time, it's also, you got to get to know them and have those unique experiences with them, seeing them through the trials and tribulations, because someone can be one way, and then as soon as it starts getting hard, they're like, not what you said you would do.
Right. So,
which is part of the process.
And shit always hits the fan, and it does multiple times. So it's just a matter of you fail fast, and failure is not like a bad thing, and it's part of the process. So to me, it's like, I'll never quit on the big picture on business, let's say, but I might need to cut ties and move along the way through a different plan that wasn't the original. So as long as you're sticking to your word and you're going forward with it, and you can fight through the ups and downs. Like, it's been 10 years to pandemic, all that. Pandemic was the best gift. Like, obviously a lot of terrible things happen from it, but from a business perspective, from what it did for me, it gave me a lot of clarity and time to think. And so
let's dive into that. Yeah, let's dive into that, because you brought up that COVID was tough, like the pandemic was hard, but then you just say it's a blessing.
Yeah.
So how does a restaurant owner with franchisees, many restaurants, find blessing in this? And I think that's an amazing thing, because gratitude is something that I think is very important for a lot of people, whether it's you're just a student in college, whether you've got a new job, whether you're starting a new business, whether you're successful, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. I think gratitude's huge, because it helps you get the proper perspective.
100% agree. And, like, you got your mantras and you can say what everyone says. For me, I love the one that life happens for you, not to you. Got that one from Tony Robbins. Like, he's kind of been a guiding force. I've been following him since COVID to help kind of like stick handle through all this crazy stuff. So when it comes down to it, gratitude is key. Finding, like, how can you learn from something? If we're here to learn, if this is life's got a lot of lessons, what can you learn from it? And when COVID happened, when I was going through it and the restaurants were closing, it gave me a breath of fresh air because I didn't have to make the tough decision myself to say, let's close. It was forced upon us. And the team that we had, there was no, like I don't know if it's what it might be, but potentially like my ego was there, and I didn't want to ever close the restaurant or lay people off or do any of that stuff. But when it was pretty much forced upon us, then I was like, okay, now I'm living through it. This is what it actually looks like. And everyone was understanding of they're understanding of why they're being laid off or why the restaurant's closed. So, and no one was mad at me or mad at anyone. It was just like, hey, we're all in this together. So that was a breath of fresh air to see like who the real team players are and people.
How did you, I just want to dive in. How did you formulate that in a way? Because I know a lot of people face adversity. A lot of people have difficulty. How did you formulate it where people were not, that you still kept that team camaraderie, even though there was so much adversity going on?
Yeah, it was communication and and then just fucking going for it, being like telling people what's up. I was sending people like pay out of my bank account at one point. Like we were not in a good spot when all restaurants closed, and we still didn't know how we were paying rent or when revenues were coming back, So when I told some staff like, hey, it's going to be another day or two, I'm sending it from my personal account, my e-transfer limits max, like I'll get you the money that you're owed, that was being truthful and letting them know what was going on was kind of what got people to fight. And then we fought. It was crazy. We found ways, like some of the restaurants, like they like throughout the path, we did have to let some of the restaurants go, but they were at the end of the leases, and it didn't really make sense because with the uncertainty as to when they could reopen and how much it was going to cost us and what the world was really doing, it was just like that was that. But we then got innovative with our ghost kitchen discovery. We found, how can we? Well, here, let me backtrack. First, it was the first lightning bolt that went through me was when I was watching the news. I was like probably 3 or 4 weeks in, when everyone's like sitting on their couches, like, you're chilling back. You're not working. It's just like people are just starting to get paid by the government. And so, it's just like, like we'll just wait this out. And then I'm seeing the like food shelters and homeless shelters and charities having issues because of social distancing and businesses closing. So they weren't able to get the support they typically get from their traditional means. And our restaurants would always donate to food banks, on a weekly basis, if not monthly. And so I just kind of was like, I need to, like, I'm watching this, I'm like, this needs to be a fixed immediately. Like, we have restaurants that are closed and we have staff that could work but aren't able to because there's no real way for us to open, and there's food banks that have reduced capacity but they have more demand. I'm like, let's make the food for them and get it to them, deliver it, and let's find a way to get the money for this so we're not the ones just giving away food right now because we don't have income. So I figured I partnered with a charity that we would raise money for. They would buy the food from our restaurants, and then we would have this system going around where we would still be making food and we would still be delivering food and we would still be employing our team. And, we did 25,000 meals, I think it was, over COVID. And that got our eyes open to say, like, what other things can we make? How can we... Well, it was just
slow down. That is absolutely incredible. No, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but that is just incredible. Like, I got chills. Literally, you're saying this, and it's, dude, the amount of people who just said, absolutely not, I'm giving up. Then there's so many people who are like, I will not give up. And that's the crazy thing about this, is that you found an opportunity, and there's opportunities for everyone. Like, there's opportunities right in front of us today, and we might not be capitalizing on them, but we have to make the most of it. And for you to sit there and go, how can we make this all work? How can we make this all situated is so big. And plus, with me, I have Edwards Consulting, and it's about mental health, physical health, community service, philanthropy, spirituality, and relationships. So for you to touch on multiple pillars of like philanthropy, relationships, probably good for everyone's mental health.
For sure.
So doing that is just incredidible. It's amazing.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I want to commend you for that.
Appreciate that. Yeah, it was huge. And we did a lot of good there. And it turned out that, like I said, when the stores closed and we had time to think, it was like, well, how can we make this all work? And then the ghost kitchens layered on top of that, because we were making different meals and we knew that our restaurant's going to make different stuff and we didn't need to stick to this one like pizza menu. And then so we were doing sandwiches and soups and pastas and you name it. We were even letting the shelters say, like, what do you want today? And they would tell us, what they want breakfast. We would do eggs and things that we've never made at the store before. So anyway, when that happened, I was researching, ways to like just looking at what was going on in the US, what was going on in Europe, how are other restaurants going. And then Mr. Beast Burger hit the wave, like hit the internet by storm. And like, I think it was December 2021. And so I reached out to their team and was just persistent. I was reaching out, and then got in touch with the right person and found a way to bring their brand into central Canada. And then that, to me, once we actually saw what was possible, like that was the busiest we've ever been the week we launched.
Oh,
Mr.
really?
Beast. Oh man, wow. It was crazy. Yeah, we launched Mr. Beast Burger and it was craziness. And then we got a lot of good press on it. And then we started opening more of them. And then we were like, okay, well, let's create our own influencer backed brands. I'm plant-based, so I wanted to create plant-based brands that were more mission driven. I thought Mr. Beast I think he still is a beauty. Like he's very focused on giving. So I didn't care that we were serving burgers, even though our primary focus for me is like, if we're going to create something new, let's kind of go more sustainable. But the fact that he's giving back to cleaning the oceans and the environment and that whole nine, I thought he was just a great guy that was behind it. So we went for it. But now we create plant-based ghost kitchens with some celebrity partners out of California and Hawaii and even in Memphis. And so we have that initiative going now within the company, and which I love, because get this, so full circle. I used to bring in artists and rappers into my cities. I then loved restaurants and I love helping people, so I'm now working with celebrities and food that can make an impact and help restaurant owners out anywhere in the world, and then help our franchise partners out.
I think that's the coolest thing, is because Steve Jobs said it. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking back, hoping that they connect. Or something like that. And majority of the time, we all do different activities, and they're like, "Oh, what are you going to do in 5 years?" I got no clue. Hopefully they connect. They connect, because that's what it is. We got so much going on. People ask me about the podcast. Did I expect to be interviewing people all over the world? I don't know. Like, it just happened.
Yeah,
it happens. It's cool.
It's very
I love
cool.
it.
So, yeah, we had so we're on pace to have 30 franchises of our pizza brand opened across Canada. We're working on getting into the US as we speak. We're having a record month. We have 3 new restaurants opening this month.
Oh, wow.
Which I guess back in 2016, I guess record month. Yeah. Cause I thought opening 3 or 4 stores in a year was a lot. Now we're doing it in a month. So that's pretty cool. And then our ghost kitchens, we have partnerships in the US right now. And we have our Good Pupco, our fresh pet food brand, human grade bowls. It's all nutritionally balanced. We have an incredible nutritionist named Emma out of the UK that has a bunch of dogs that have lived like over 20, 22 years old. And we're bringing that to market in the months ahead. And it's been part of this whole ghost kitchen / innovative thing during COVID. Like, I'm feeding ourselves better, humans better. And then I have my dog Molly, and I wanted to give her the same opportunity to eat properly herself. So I was like, what's the deal with the pet food space? Anyways, that's a whole nother hour. Don't need to get into that, but created a way where restaurants can make fresh pet food. It's actually, you don't even need to call it pet food. It's just food. It's all sourced from, it's broccoli, cauliflower, turmeric, whatever beef choice or meat choice is best for the pet. That at that stage of their life, we work around every aspect of it, but it's all through our supply chain. So the interesting thing is the way our dogs should eat is the same way we should eat. You're really supposed to eat once a day, whole food diet, variety of veggies and meats for some. I don't eat it, but you can argue that it's good for you or not. For the pets, it seems to be the right thing to do. Versus eating kibble, which usually, either halves their life or is 1/3 of their life because they're not getting nutrition. So, yeah. there's a dog that just 31 years old is the oldest dog. I think that was just posted on social media last week. But yeah, it's like there's all the data out there now that's just clearly showing the ways that pets should be eating, and it's a complete opposite of what we were all brought up to think. Don't change their diet, feed them kibble, get them the premium kind, and just what based off of their age switch their kibble. Whereas no, you're supposed to feed them a variety of different fresh foods and vegetables and fruits and stuff like that. So, which isn't rocket science. It's just how the world.
It sounds like money signs. I just see it and I see money signs. Get the premium one, get this one, get that one.
Right.
And people love their animals.
More than they feed their animals better than they feed themselves. So we're getting get very disruptive with that. And that's like that's one of my, I'd say a passion project, but it's going to be a very impactful and profitable opportunity business wise, just because the demand is so high. The education gap to, I can't remember what book it is, but it's like when the education gap and the convenience is so off, it's only going to get to the, once it balances, it's unicorn status. So that's where this pet food world is right now. There's a lot of gaps in the market, and the education on it is out there. It's just that there's not enough of it. So ask someone how they're supposed to feed their dog. Everyone's going to have a different answer. Raw diet, lightly cooked, kibble, whatever. There's going to be all these different things out there. Some are right, some are wrong, but the science is out there, and just got to look.
Yeah. The other really interesting thing is that I have a lot of friends who have dogs, and they'll go, I'll get pet insurance, I'll get this. And then it's like, no one ever asks about the dog food. They just get the one that the vet recommends, and they're like, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then you look at your dog, okay, they're still kicking, they're happy, good. I don't know. Because you can't tell if they're feeling good or feeling not good. And we're heading into a world, as you were mentioning earlier, where every single week I have another conversation with someone, whether it's on the podcast, whether it's just in an intro call or anything, where they're like, Jordan, how are you eating? How do you feel optimal? How do you do this? And I'm like, when did we all get this? And it's just because so many people have sat there and been like, I feel shitty doing this. I feel shitty doing this. I don't feel well doing this. I feel amazing doing this, actually. I feel really good. And now that we can measure and monitor a lot of this stuff, my buddy has the Whoop. And when he fasts for the entire day, he fasts and he sleeps and wakes up and he's like, crazy, but I pulled the 98. I don't pull 98 usually. And it's just incredible. It's incredible stuff, because we just don't even think about it. So tell us more a little bit about what's going on. Like, what's your main focus? Push forward 2023. What are we seeing? What do we really want? Because it sounds like you have a ton of amazing things, and I appreciate the stories, because it's always amazing seeing someone's journey. It can be a little intimidating when I go, yeah, he's opening 3 restaurants this week, and you have the kid on the couch who goes, I just want to open one, man.
Yeah, it's a good time to be alive for sure. I'd say for 2023, I'll start with Good Pup Co. So our goal is to have our first brick and mortar flagship location open up. It seems like it'll be in Florida, and get that up and running and show proof of concept to the real world. And at that stage, we'll have, and we're already signing up virtual ghost kitchens for that brand as well. So for 2023, I'd love to see 150 locations signed up for being a ghost kitchen partner for Good Pup Co. And then have our first flagship brick and mortar open up in Florida, aiming to be like in Miami, kind of South Beach area, or Miami or South Beach, I should say. So the event with our pizza concept, we're on pace to have 100 locations sold by the end of 2023. So going to keep pushing hard for that. Have 30 stores live by that time. Those would be all in Canada. And then we have, about 300 more ghost kitchens that we'd love to open across the United States with our plant-based brands. We have 3 different brands that love to see those take off. So, for us, it's a very unique time. We can open new restaurants with anyone that wants to be a franchise partner, either an aspiring restaurant owner. They just want to have the tools and give us the keys to run with. So we give them the keys. And then there's the existing restaurant partners and hotels out there that we can provide value to with our ghost kitchens. So those are the 2 areas of focus for us. Always looking for new strategic partners, always looking for, strategic investors, anyone that wants to open franchises, like anyone we can help. We have a lot of ways we can do so in the food space. So want to make a positive impact in the world and use our restaurant funnel to do that.
Yeah, and the coolest thing is, like you were talking about earlier, and I think a lot of people miss the ball when they're like, I have to succeed. This is on me. And it's like, yes, there's accountability, but why can't we succeed? And why can't we do it together? So I like what you guys are doing with that. I think it sounds pretty awesome. I'm excited to see this kibble place, if it gets some legs under it. And I wish you the best. But where can people find you or your team or hear more about, keep updated with what's going on?
Yeah, you can find us just carbonerestaurantgroup.com on social. You can find me on Instagram, Benji Nasberg, same as LinkedIn, Facebook, same. So if you want to follow me, hop online. If you want to follow the Carbone story, just check us out on our website. We post updates on a regular basis.
Absolutely. I'll throw those links in the bio. Thank you so much, Benjamin. It's been awesome.
All right. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you for reaching the end of the podcast. For that, we'll give you a complimentary coaching session in the link below with Edwards Consulting. Hope to see you there and have a great day and keep clocking in.